Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. Today, we're going to tackle something that, well, it's a bit of a head scratcher for a lot of us: happiness. What it actually is and how we can find more of it.
Happiness, contentment. It's
Yeah.
definitely one of those things everyone's searching for.
Right. And sometimes it feels like the more you chase it, the further away it gets.
Absolutely.
But today, we're going to try a different approach.
Oh.
We're going to explore this whole happiness puzzle through a story, a fable, actually.
Ooh, I love a good fable.
Me too. And this one, it's about a crow who's, well, let's just say he's not exactly living his best life.
Sounds relatable.
Right. I think we've all had those I wish I was anything but
More
days.
often than we'd like to admit, probably.
So picture this.
Hmm.
We have our crow sitting all alone on a branch, and he is miserable, like really down in the dumps, crying, feeling totally unloved, unwanted. He even wishes he was a different species. That's how bad it is.
Wow, that's rough.
Uh,
Starting off with some pretty intense emotions there.
It is, but like I said, I think that feeling of wanting to be someone, something else, it's pretty universal.
Yeah, that yearning for something more. It's definitely something I think we can all relate to.
Okay, so back to our story. As luck would have it, this crow happens to be perched on a tree where a wise old monk is meditating.
Ah, classic fable setup. Serendipity and wisdom all in one spot.
Exactly. So the crow is crying so hard that a teardrop falls right onto the monk's cheek.
Oops, that's got to be a mood killer for the monk's meditation, right?
You'd think so. But instead of getting annoyed, this monk, being the compassionate soul he is, decides to help the crow. He offers him a chance to transform into anything he desires.
Well, hold on. Just like that, anything he wants.
It seems too good to be true, right? And, well, there is a catch.
There's always a catch.
The monk tells the crow, go find a swan and ask it if it's happy. It's like a cosmic test before getting your wish granted.
Interesting. So it's not just about getting what you want, it's about making sure that what you think you want will actually bring you happiness.
That's such a great point. And it's something we often forget, don't we? We rush towards what we think will make us happy without really examining if it's truly aligned with what matters.
It's like we're chasing a mirage sometimes.
Totally. So off goes the crow to find this swan, expecting to find the embodiment of happiness, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to be a swan? Graceful, beautiful, admired by everyone.
You'd think a swan would have it all figured out, happiness-wise.
Right. But here's where things take an unexpected turn. The crow finds the swan gliding across a lake, and he's like, hey, everyone admires you. You seem to have it all. Are you happy?
Okay, I'm hooked. What does the swan say?
The swan, instead of appreciating all the amazing things it has going for it, starts complaining.
No way. What could a swan possibly complain about?
It's fixated on what it lacks, all the vibrant colors in the world, and the swan is stuck with plain white. It actually envies the parrot.
Get out of here. The swan envies the parrot. Talk about a plot twist.
I know, it's like that saying, the grass is always greener, right? We humans, you do this all the time. We focus on what we don't have instead of appreciating what we do.
It's that constant comparison game, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it rarely leads to feeling truly content.
Exactly. And this fable, it highlights how this tendency can sabotage our happiness.
So it's not just about having certain things or being a certain way. It's about our perception of it all.
You got it. Okay, so now the crow's a little confused. If even a swan, with all its grace and beauty, isn't happy, then maybe the key to happiness lies in vibrant colors, right?
Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Follow the colors, find the happiness.
Exactly. So he sets off to find this parrot, figuring, okay, the swan envies the parrot, so the parrot must have it all figured out. He finds the parrot, and it's everything you'd expect: colorful, talkative, seemingly free as a bird. But is it truly happy? I wonder.
Ooh, suspense is building.
I'm sensing a but coming.
Well, yeah. The parrot might look like it has the perfect life, but appearances can be deceiving.
Oh, I have a feeling you're right. This is where things get really interesting. I gotta admit, when I first heard this story, I totally thought the parrot was gonna be living the dream. All those colors flying around, mimicking people, it seemed like the ultimate freedom.
Yeah, on the surface, it totally looks like the parrot has it made.
But the crow, he quickly discovers that there's this whole other layer to the parrot's life. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Ah, I see where this is going. Another case of hidden struggles.
Exactly. Turns out the parrot is absolutely terrified of being caged. It's like this constant anxiety overshadowing everything else.
It's interesting. So even though the parrot has all these amazing qualities, Its own fear is holding it back from experiencing true happiness.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that even when we seem to have it all on the outside, our own thoughts and perceptions can be the biggest obstacles to finding contentment. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It's like that saying, you can't run away from yourself. Wherever you go, there you are, with all your baggage.
Totally. So, two strikes down for the crow's happiness quest. He's starting to realize that maybe happiness isn't about being someone else, but he still hasn't found the answer. He's got to be getting pretty discouraged at this point, right?
Yeah, you'd think so.
Hmm.
But the monk, remember, he gave the crow 3 options to explore.
Right. So the crow, he sets off to find the peacock, the ultimate symbol of beauty and grandeur. He's thinking, okay, if the swan and the parrot aren't happy, surely the peacock must have the secret to true happiness.
Makes sense. I mean, the peacock, it's like the epitome of being admired and envied.
Exactly. I figured this was where the crow was finally going to find the answer, but, well, this is where the fable takes another turn I wasn't expecting.
Uh-oh. Another twist. I'm intrigued.
The crow, he finds the peacock, but it's not strutting around in some exotic garden. It's imprisoned in a zoo.
No way. The peacock is trapped. That's not what I was picturing at all.
I know, right? And the crow, he sees all these people crowding around admiring the peacock's beauty. He thinks, finally, here's someone who must be happy. But then he notices something in the peacock's eyes, a kind of sadness.
Ooh, this is getting good. What happens next?
The peacock, it shares a heartbreaking truth with the crow. It says that its beauty, the very thing that everyone admires, is actually a source of suffering.
How could beauty cause suffering?
Its feathers, those vibrant iridescent plumes, they get plucked for decorations, causing the peacock immense pain.
Oh, wow. That's heavy. So it's like a double-edged sword. The peacock's beauty is both its blessing and its curse.
Exactly. And it makes you think about those things we often envy in others. Are they really all they're cracked up to be? Do they truly lead to happiness?
It's a great reminder to look beyond the surface, right? There's often more to the story than meets the eye.
Totally. And in this moment, when the peacock is at its most vulnerable, it shares something really surprising with the crow. It says it envies the crow's freedom.
Wow. The peacock envies the crow. That's a complete reversal of what we'd expect.
I know, right? Here's this magnificent creature, the epitome of beauty and grandeur, and its longing for the simple freedom of a crow, to fly where it pleases, to live without the burden of its own beauty. I think this is where the real transformation happens for the crow.
I see. It's like he finally gets it. He's been so focused on what he lacks that he's overlooked the value of what he already had.
Exactly. He realizes that freedom, the very thing the peacock desires, is something he's taken for granted. It's a powerful lesson in appreciating what we already have. And it makes you think about those things in our own lives that we might be overlooking, those simple joys and freedoms that we might not even realize we have.
Absolutely. It's so easy to get caught up in wanting more, wanting something different, that we forget to cherish the present moment.
So what happens next? Does the crow go back to the monk?
He does. Our little crow, he flies back to the monk, but he's not the same crow who left. Yeah, he's gone on this whole journey. He's seen all these different perspectives. He's got to be thinking differently now.
Exactly. He tells the monk, I don't want to be a swan, a parrot, or a peacock. I'm happy being a crow.
Wow. He's come full circle.
It's pretty amazing, right? And the monk, he smiles and says, you have learned the secret to true happiness.
Which is, don't keep us in suspense.
The monk explains that true happiness isn't about what you are or what you have. It's about contentment. It's about finding peace within yourself.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like if you're constantly chasing something else, you'll never be happy with what you have.
It's so true, and it's a lesson that's easy to forget in our world, where we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us we need more, we need to be better, we need to be different.
Yeah, it's like everyone's trying to keep up with some imaginary ideal,
Yeah.
and it just leads to this endless cycle of dissatisfaction.
It's exhausting. But this fable, it reminds us that we already have everything we need to be happy. It's just a matter of shifting our perspective.
It's about focusing on the good, appreciating what we have, instead of dwelling on what we lack.
Exactly. But I gotta admit, it's easier said than done, right? Like, how do we actually cultivate this contentment in our everyday lives?
It's definitely a practice, not a quick fix, but there are definitely things we can do.
Like what? Give us some tips.
Well, I think mindfulness is a big one. Paying attention to our thoughts, noticing when we're comparing ourselves to others or focusing on what we don't have, and then gently redirecting our attention to things we're grateful for.
So it's about catching ourselves in those negative thought patterns and making a conscious choice to focus on the positive.
Exactly. And even if we can't change our circumstances, we can always change our perspective. Like instead of complaining about our job, we can focus on the fact that we have a job, that we're able to provide for ourselves and our families.
That's a good point. It's about finding those silver linings, even in challenging situations. But what about those things that we genuinely lack? What about areas where we want to grow or improve? Does contentment mean we have to just accept things as they are and give up on our goals?
Not at all. Contentment isn't about becoming complacent. It's about finding a balance between accepting what is and striving for what could be.
So it's about being content with who we are, where we are, while still having dreams and aspirations for the future.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that even if we achieve all our goals, there will always be new challenges, new things to learn, new ways to grow. Happiness isn't a destination, it's a journey.
And it's a journey that's unique to each of us. What brings one person joy might not bring another person joy. It's about finding what truly matters to us and pursuing those things with passion and gratitude. Well, this deep dive has been quite a journey, hasn't it? We started with a miserable crow, and we ended up exploring the very nature of happiness.
It's amazing how a simple story can spark so much reflection. And I hope this conversation has encouraged you to think about your own journey toward happiness. What are you grateful for? What brings you joy? And how can you cultivate more contentment in your everyday life?
Those are great questions to ponder. And on that note, it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. But the conversation doesn't end here. Keep exploring these themes, keep questioning, and keep seeking those moments of contentment and joy in your own life. Who knows, you might just surprise yourself with what you discover. Until next time.